What's the best way to write prompts in Midjourney? How do you create interesting AI art that stands out from the rest? There are some tricks to instantly make better prompts and produce amazing art, even if you are a beginner. Let's start with the first tip, which is to use sketches, drawings, and illustrations. To emphasize the power of this tip, let's first create a prompt, starting with imagine, and we'll type out drawing of a Victorian house at night with an aspect ratio parameter of 2:3. And let's see what we get. So already on its own, Midjourney is starting to create some pretty cool results with this prompt. But if we wanted to get even more interesting results, we could use reference images. Now we could upload images directly to Discord, but what I'm going to do instead is look on Pinterest for some reference images. And I'm looking for a style of illustration that I'm drawn to that I want to use to influence the direction of this prompt. So in order to use this image, we need to copy the direct URL. So not the web page, but the URL to the exact image. In our prompt, we're going to paste the link that we just copied, and then we're going to copy the same prompt that we already wrote, drawing of a Victorian house at night with the same aspect ratio. And look at how the drawing changed. It's really taking influence from that reference image, same colors, line structure. It's taking our concept of a Victorian house drawing and combining it with that reference to create something much more unique. Let's keep going with this idea and try out a different style. So I'll go back to Pinterest and I'll look for a different illustration style. I really like the monochromatic nature of this one, and it has an interesting illustration style. So let's try this one. We'll copy the URL and do the same steps. Paste it into our Imagine prompt, and then copy and paste the same prompt we already wrote. Press Submit, and now let's see what Midjourney does. Again, you can see how you can create dramatically different results with the same concept, but just using different reference images to influence the artistic style of the art. And if you wanted to, you can continue to iterate on some of these and further refine the prompts. I'm going to go back to Pinterest and look for one more illustration style. I want to try something with a lot more color and different line weight. This one has an interesting style, so let's use this one and see what Midjourney creates with it. You can see how Midjourney takes cues from that reference image, but still creates something unique. A lot of similar colors, but because our prompt says at night, we do have some darker colors to signify the time of day. The next tip to creating really interesting AI art is to use abstract geometric shapes. In this example, I gave Midjourney the prompt, black and white sketch of a San Francisco Victorian house with an aspect ratio of 3:4. And this was the result it came up with. But I found this reference image online of abstract shapes and various lines, and I'm curious what Midjourney would do if I combined this abstract image with the same prompt. Start your prompt with Imagine, paste the URL, and then add the same prompt, and then see the results. This is looking really cool. You can see how the lines are becoming part of the background, and it's really abstracting the architectural drawing. Instead of a complete house, it's taking elements of a Victorian house and combining it with those shapes. A pretty cool result, but let's take it one step further. If we use the describe prompt in Midjourney and upload this same image, press enter, then Midjourney will give us 4 different prompt descriptions that describes how Midjourney sees this photo. This is a great way to immediately create more interesting AI art. Just use the describe prompt on any image of a style you like, and then you'll be able to tweak those prompts to create something similar. But instead of just pressing Imagine All, let's modify these prompts slightly. So let's start by copying one of these prompts. And in this one, it starts with a black and white drawing of an object. So instead of an object, we'll replace that with the Victorian house reference and then press Submit. And we'll go ahead and do that with all of the other prompts too. Anytime you see a mention of some specific object, just replace it with what you're trying to create an image of, in this case, a Victorian house. So after submitting all 4 prompts, these are the results that Midjourney gave us. So you see how using image references and the describe prompt and tweaking words here and there in your prompts can help you create much more interesting results. Just imagine the possibilities with your own reference images. The next tip is to use patterns. To show you what I mean by this, I'm going to go back to Pinterest and look for some interesting pattern reference images. Let's use this one. First, I'll start with a basic prompt, long-stemmed red rose with an aspect ratio of 16:9, and let's see what Midjourney gives us. It's a pretty standard photo of a rose, but I want to use that pattern image to see if we can create more interesting results. Start a new Imagine prompt and paste the image we copied from Pinterest, and then copy and paste the same prompt. I'm actually going to change the aspect ratio because I meant for it to be a tall vertical versus a landscape. And look at how much more cool this image looks. It is still a long-stemmed red rose, but it's taking the same color palette and even some of the texture from that reference image. Let's see what else we can create. Going back to Pinterest, we'll try this one with organic shapes and see what happens when we plug it into Midjourney. This is interesting. I would have no idea how to recreate something like this in Midjourney. It's kind of like cut paper art or origami. So you see, if you just play around with different types of reference images, whether those be sketches, drawings, or patterns, or graphic shapes, you can begin to create some really cool art. Another interesting result, it's also got the same origami cut paper feel to it, but the colors and the shapes and the mood are all different. The next tip is to use your own landscape photos. These can be from your own travels or again, reference images from online. I'm going to start in Midjourney with a prompt, vintage poster of Yosemite Half Dome with an aspect ratio of 2:3. I want to see what Midjourney creates on its own here. This is pretty cool, and it does have a vintage feel to it. You'll notice that Midjourney doesn't do well with text. It kind of has this lorem ipsum feel to it. So if you were going to use this in a design, you would want to mask the type out and use your own type. I'm going to upload a photo I took of Yosemite's Half Dome and upload this other reference image. I love the colors in this landscape illustration. And I'm going to copy the URL of both of these to see how these reference images can change the direction for this poster design. And this is how Midjourney interprets the prompt. You can see how it's taking the composition of the photo I took and the color palette and some of the texture from the other reference image. It's already creating something more graphic and interesting. I'm going to use the same describe prompt on this colorful landscaped illustration because I want to try to recreate something more in this style, but I don't know what words to use. So the best way to do that is to use the describe feature. Just as before, I'm going to copy each one of these prompts and tweak the wording slightly to make sure it includes exactly what I want. And after doing so, these are the results. For this prompt, I actually forgot to paste in the photo I took of Yosemite, but I really like how it turned out. You can see how it changed the composition. I really like the direction of this third image, so I'm going to use V3 to start iterating off of it. As long as you have the remix feature turned on, you'll be able to edit your prompt. So I'm going to go in here and change some of the words. For example, I'll get rid of road and replace it with path. And I'll add a silhouette of a person walking. And I'll get rid of in the mountains. Press submit, and this is what we get. 4 new results generated. Option 3 is my favorite, so I'm going to upscale this by pressing U3. And this creates a higher resolution version of that image. The last tip is to use images you've taken of designs or styles that you are inspired by. In this example, I'm uploading a photo I took of a sticker. Not only did I like the subject of the sticker, but I also liked the watercolor illustration style. So I'm curious what would happen if I used this with Midjourney. Again, I'll start with a basic prompt of sticker of a cat sleeping on books with a coffee cup in the background, watercolor illustration. I want to see what Midjourney creates with this prompt alone, without a reference image. And then to compare, I'll create another prompt and paste my reference image and add the same prompt just to see how the results vary. The 4 designs on the left were without the reference image, and the 4 designs on the right were with the reference image. Because I want to get Midjourney to create something that is closer to my reference image, I'll use the describe feature one more time to see what prompts it generates. These are the results. And for the last one, I removed the mention of a sticker so I could get a full illustration. I hope this video gave you some tips and ideas and inspiration for how to create more interesting AI art. But if you want to know more about reference images and how to use them to create cool results, check out this video next.